Hello, YouTubers. In this session, I'm going to talk to you about the standard roadmap. What is the roadmap for any person that is willing to enter the software industry and try to learn about, its secrets, the crafts he needs to work on, and the skill sets he needs to grow to be able to become an innovative, entrepreneurial, innovative engineer. Someone who can actually, come up with ideas, turn these ideas into products and turn these products into something that can be beneficial for people and also grow their own business. This session is really, really important because it helps you see the bigger picture beyond just a simple engineering standard. Just about a couple of weeks ago, I released and published the standard, the engineering standard, which basically helps engineers know how to design their components, within any system. It doesn't matter. It could be a web application, it could be a mobile application, it could be a simple, API or a console. It doesn't matter what software you're building. It basically helps you design, the components in a way that is maintainable, sustainable, configurable, components that you can test and can replace and you can work around with, its capabilities. It allows you to do anything, with your software and make software engineering in general as an experience intuitive, to make it easy to understand, to make people excited to come, every day and contribute to your project, whether it's in an enterprise or a commercial or just a simple open source project. But this session here is a little bit bigger than that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just to help you see, this is just a very tiny block in a bigger structure. Someone asked me this the other day. Someone said to me, where does this standard fits in? I feel like there's a lot of things that are missing, like DevOps, infrastructure, things like that. It takes a lot more than a clean architecture and a clean code to actually bring someone out there in the market and for people to actually be willing to use it. So today I'm going to show you that big picture. Today I'm going to show you, how large it is, the standard roadmap, and where we stand today. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of these aspects, but you have to understand, like, there's a lot of things that I'm trying to communicate to you, as much as I can, as much as time and health and effort allows. But, you're going to have to be patient with me because a lot of these sessions require a little bit of focus. This is not your typical, quick 10-minute video where you just, see a new pattern or something and say, okay, I feel smarter. This is not what this is. This is more about a path of a lifestyle, that allows you to actually become super productive and super innovative, and hopefully you'll change the course of humanity with your innovations. So let me share my screen with you here real quick, and let me just tell you what we're talking about. Um, if you look here for a second, you will notice that there is the typical engineering standard. You're working with your broker, so there's integration piece, there's a core piece, and there's an exposure piece, right? Any application, it doesn't matter what it is. In fact, actually, this extends beyond even software. Like, we as human beings, we depend on things like food, water, we depend on other people, and we function ourselves. I'm an engineer, you're an artist, someone else is a journalist, whatever their function is. And we also, are a dependency for other people. So we expose our services, we expose our, abilities to communicate with others and help others. So this part here is a simple part that is part of something even bigger called a tri-nature of everything. That there's a tri-nature, three components for everything out there in the universe. And these components somewhat, they break into smaller categories and sometimes they overlap. We'll talk about that in a different session. This is the engineering standard. This is how you can build any software in the world. It could be a UI desktop, it could be an API, it could be a simple client, a service that's just consuming your services, some background service. It doesn't really expose anything, it just consumes your existing service. So these are like Windows background services that are running, or in Linux they call them daemons, right? I like to call them angels, because you still can't see them, but they're doing something good for you. Unlike demons, you can't see them, but they're doing something terrible behind the scenes. So I like to call them angels, but that's also a story for another day. So exposure, core, integration, right? But where does that fit in a larger, scheme of things, right? You're a person that just graduated out of college, or someone who has been in the industry for 20 years, 50 years, doesn't matter. You can tell immediately that there are things in here that you don't see in terms of the innovation process and life cycle. For instance, someone might say, okay, well, there is source control. You have to take that code and put it somewhere, right? And and this source control is supposed to do something, and then this something is supposed to be packaged up. The packaging is supposed to be delivered into some resources, and these resources are supposed to be exposed. There's a lot there in that roadmap, that is missing, right? I mean, when you're designing a software like this, what is the purpose of it? Okay, how do we design it, right? How did we come up with the idea to develop software in that fashion, right? So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit just to show you how big that roadmap is. I've been spending some time to try to show you what these things are. And this is not to kind of deter you and kind of freak you out. This is just to tell you how much stuff I want to share with you and how much stuff that we need to kind of be exposed to. Some of these things you might know innately just because you've been working in the tech industry, so you know that there is like a scrum meeting or a design meeting. You know that there is a meeting where you can go and say, oh, let's plan, and there's a meeting where you go and say let's design, and there's a meeting where you go and say let's do retrospective, right? So that's what I call team culture, right? Let's zoom in a little bit and go through these real quick, right? So from the top here, there's something called the team standard, right? This is how you build a community, right? I really don't want to call it the community standard, but team seems to be a little bit more relatable, right? Every team out there needs to have a purpose, and then there is a person, the individual, and then there's the people, the community, where they govern, themselves based on certain, rules and certain regulations, and they put in, a lot of resources for themselves so they are able to kind of work on a particular purpose. So the people and the person, you basically power up the purpose, and the purpose has its own higher goals and higher meanings. We'll talk about that in a second, and then there is the architecture and design standard. Okay, you have a team and the team have a purpose. Let's go ahead and plan ahead, how we gonna take that, purpose and materialize it into an idea that we can articulate. Do our due diligence and research, see if there's something similar out there, what are the issues that we're trying to solve and what's the potential there. And then you go into the design part where you design the purposing aspect of it, design the modeling and the simulation. And then from there you start materializing with the engineering standard. I've been talking about this for a while, you already know exactly what the engineering standard is, so I'm not going to go through that one. But then from there, there is the DevOps standard. How do you take your code, and source control it, how you host it, how you apply policies and management, how do you apply build, discovery of your code and dependencies, installation, creating environments, and then the execution. And then there's the release part where your code actually goes into the next step where you're actually throwing, creating that, the infrastructure components for that code, doing your deployments and creating the availability or establishing availability measures. And then in here, there's the infrastructure part, logging, testing, and alerting for monitoring, and then there's compliance, security, and policy and management. Okay, let's say your product is out there, it's living out there in the market, and you're exposing it. What do you need to apply? You need to understand that there are three important aspects: monitoring, compliance, and scale. Right? Any architecture out there that is worth its weight of salt, needs to apply some or all of these, monitoring, compliance, and scale. Are you able to handle growth, right, in terms of consumption for your software? Are you able to apply compliance? Are you able to secure your system? Are you able to apply policies? Who can log in? Who can consume an endpoint? Who can't consume an endpoint? And then there's the management, which is the miscellaneous stuff like the configurations, upgrading, versions, and making sure that your software is in a good maintainable state. Okay, you built the software and it scales and all that. Comes the last one, which is what I call the business standard. And the business standard really relies on the idea of allowing your product to actually go out there in the market. So there's productization, marketing, and then the loop, the feedback, right? Are you actually getting a return for your investment? Are you actually monitoring the market, and are you able to actually get feedback from the market? What social media platforms, like your system is sending you automated feedback, but what are people really saying? because the conclusion of what the user is thinking about your software is not something that your monitoring tools, and your alerting is not gonna tell you. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're trying to log into a system, and you failed the first time, and you said, "Oh, maybe I forgot my password," and you logged again, and it allowed you in. The monitoring system will say, "Oh, there's an exception being thrown. Your system is terrible." But if you ask the user, be like, "Yeah, I don't care about it. It's not really a big deal for me." Right? So this is where the business mindset comes in. How much, do you think your users are able to tolerate some of the faultiness in your system? Some faults are unforgivable, like making your user wait 5 minutes to process a request versus, a simple error that just did a little bit of a server hiccup. They clicked submit and it said try again, and they clicked again and it just worked. They won't even remember it. They say, "Oh, I don't remember even doing that. I just know that I submitted the request." So there's a lot of these minute details, and each one of these have levels. Like for instance, let me just, for the people that have been following these videos, they may understand something like this. Like when I say brokers and APIs integrations, you know that this has levels, right? There's event-based API integration, like when you're listening to a queue or an event bus, or event sourcing in general. There are the resources themselves. Are you actually having direct access to these resources? So you are the only point of exposure. That happens at a very low level when you're just building a simple library to expose functionality for existing resource. You're actually doing all the work. You're not just utilizing an existing API. Brokers themselves have levels, right? The levels of brokers, when you're building something that just reads from within the application or the system that it's running within, like a datetime broker or something like that, something that is, using an extension, but it's also calling an external resource like logging brokers. And then there's APIs. You're just calling another API. And like a lot of like orchestration, for instance, have levels. That's your orchestration, coordination, management, and Uber management. There's a little bit of growth, that happens within each and every one of those, right? And, this here, my friends, is really, what you would need to actually get yourself out there and be able to be fully knowledgeable. This ultimately, when you learn about all of these things, that I'll be more than happy to share written, verbal, material content, as much content as I can share. When you learn about these, you become, in my book, you become what I call entrepreneurial innovative engineer. Okay, someone that knows, how to, pick up a random idea. So you have a random idea, and then you're building a community of engineers around that idea, and then you're building systems out of that community of engineers, and then you're building a business outside of that, a product, and then you start contributing directly to the survival of the humankind, its evolution and fulfillment. Just to visualize for you here, because I know, this is a lot better when I draw this. Think about this like how our planets, our solar system is set up together, right? So you start with an idea, an inspiration, right? And then you add a little bit of passion around that idea. Like each and every one of us comes up with ideas every single day. I promise you, it's not just you have an idea, but some people follow through on their ideas and some people don't, right? Some people actually go out there and say, "Yeah, I want to, I want to make it a reality," and some people don't, right? So you have the idea and then you build the passion around it, like this. Okay, I have a passion. And then around that passion, you start building what I call you're basically gathering resources to turn that idea into a reality, right? Where's the circle? There it is. So if I go up here, so this is my idea here. You spin back a little bit like this, and all of a sudden you're building something a little bit bigger than just an idea, which is what I call a community around that idea, right? Community is resources like computers and people and things, that will help you kind of do that. And then around that community of engineers, you'd start producing, what I call products, right? So outside of that realm, you start seeing what I call a product. This is an actual thing, that you can actually put out there and other people can use it, whether they know the story around it or not. So that's a product, right? Okay, so you got the product. Now let's go out a little bit further and go and say, well, now that I have a product, I may as well have a business. So let me show you here. Send this to the back. Here you go. Here it is. So I have now a business around that product. Like, all the people that will be selling your product, and and it doesn't have to be actually a monetized business. When I say business, I say an established a day-to-day work that you go to. Could be profit, could be non-profit, that actually kind of caters to this product that you have. Okay, it caters to this product that you have. And then outside of that business, you start actually hitting goals, right? So you take that business and you take that all that stuff that you've done out of the product and the business, and you start hitting what I call the market. And when you hit the market, this is when actually, you start realizing how useful your idea really is, right? So this is here is the market. And based on the market, you will actually understand whether your product needs an adjustment. So it's always a feedback between your idea and the community and the person and the passion. You're putting the product, you're putting the business, and you're growing in that direction. Once you hit that market, right, you hit the purpose, right? So that basically you going and saying, yeah, I have actually built a system that helps, let's say, hospitals, work 10% more efficient, right? And therefore, I am helping a lot of patients, get the attention that they need a lot faster than, that they used to. This is that idea. So this is here where you hit the big goal, which is the purpose, right? And like I said, even purposes themselves, they follow their own. This is the purpose right here. So look at this: purpose, market, business, product, community, passion, and then starts with you. You are at the center of all of this. It starts with you, and then it grows in every dimension that you can imagine. And every time you grow into one direction, you start learning. And as you're learning, you're growing. And as you're growing, you start seeing, the difference between, one idea that you had versus a different idea that you had. This is entrepreneurial innovative engineering, my friend. And this is what this channel is all about. I'm not here to kind of tell you, oh, look, this is the coolest thing that showed up in C# 8 or 9 or 10, or look at this amazing Azure functionality without linking it to an actual framework that tells you why, doing this way is better, why making your software in a way that is consumable and understandable. The easier your software to understand, the more brain power you're saving the engineers that are working on your project, from spinning around in circles trying to understand how the software works, into reassigning and optimizing their time into actually producing software that can eventually go into productization, hit the market, become a business, and then actually fulfill one of these purposes. And like I said to you, like after a long research, if you have to make sure that your purpose falls directly or indirectly under one of these three categories. Is it actually helping people survive? Is it evolutionizing something, right? Is it actually helping us go from horses to cars and from cars to rockets? That's evolution, right? Or is it, reaching the levels of fulfillment? Is your software bringing happiness and entertainment and calmness and peace in our world today, right? Are you actually reaching that level of fulfillment? Are people happy? Are they less likely, to get into conflict? Are you preventing wars? Are you preventing conflicts? Are you preventing, toxicity? This is what I call fulfillment, a fulfilled life, someone who is actually truly experiencing happiness and least likely to experience anger and sadness and any of these negative feelings. So this is pretty much what this video is. It's just to help you understand that there is a big framework, big roadmap, and what I have actually released as a standard, like right now, like I said, the standard is always in draft mode. This is the book or the work that was, because we're learning every day, we're growing, right? So if you go and search for the standard in here, the standard, like this. If you search for the standard, it is a lot of content, right? It's like just the it's about 200 and something pages, right? It's a lot of content, but it's trying to draw for you at least a portion that can get you from point A to point B, right? But there's a lot to say there, and there's a lot to share there that I will do my very best to kind of share with you as much as I possibly can. Now, with that in mind, remember this, that you know, your feedback, the standard is what you make it to be. So when you inherit a standard or adhere to a standard or adapt an engineering standard, it's your job to actually contribute to the overall, hive mind of engineers that are working on that engineering standard. Like you can go and say, hey guys, I tried this, but it didn't really work out for me because of one, two, three, four. This is super important because this is how we continue to kind of, work together as a community and continue to tune the engineering standard in a way that makes it, a more usable, evolving, and this tech industry continues to evolve all the time. So I will share the big roadmap with you in the links in this video. I will share it's in Draw.io, so make sure you download Draw.io or use it or use the web version of it. Of course, I'll share a link for the engineering standard. There's a lot of things that we need to talk about. I'll try to make videos. What's more important about the videos that we create in this channel is that it's not just about, showing you how to do something or showing you an idea, but more importantly, engaging people, engaging community in real time with real engineers from all over the world, to get their feedback in real time. There's no there's no rehearsal for these videos. I didn't rehearse none of that stuff. I just put a map for you and I said, hey, let me share that with the world and let's see what the world thinks, about that map. So, as usual, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. This is a super short video, compared to the other videos, but I just want people to understand the roadmap and understand where I'm coming from and where I'm headed. When you have a roadmap, it makes you more hopeful and more passionate about what is being done. And, as usual, feel free to reach out at any time. I'll try to help you as much as I can. And I wish you the best prosperity and success in life. I wish you can use that standard and create the next big thing, something as crazy as electricity or making us an interplanetary species. Maybe you will develop a software that will, defeat diseases, that are killing us in the millions on daily basis, much faster. If we can resemble modeling and simulation through computers and we can find all the right variables, we can actually utilize quantum computers or simple computers like these, to actually find resolutions for diseases much, much faster than we do today. Today it takes years for a research to kind of produce something that can actually combat some of these diseases. But more importantly, and I genuinely truly believe this, every disease in this world has a resolution. It has a cure. There's no such a thing as a disease that doesn't have a cure. And yet we're still, dealing with Parkinson diseases, we're still dealing with AIDS. Some of these diseases are still a mystery, right? And we need to model these diseases and be able to render them on the computers and be able to, find the resolutions for them. I hope this inspires you a little bit. I have so much love and passion in my heart for what I do and for the people that will be watching this video. I want you to go out there and be yourself and grow and engage, in this world and don't just be another number. Don't just be another person walking and talking and eating and sleeping on this planet. Go out there and actually make a difference. Help someone that cannot help you back. Help someone that you will never meet. Help someone even if they don't say thank you or pay you for it. If you follow these spiritual guidelines and be an embodiment of this standardization of purposes and aims in life, I can guarantee you're gonna feel a lot of fulfillment in your life. You'll feel a lot more beyond survival. There's a level of fulfillment that can overwrite and overcome survival and evolution. And I want you to experience that in real time. Thank you so much for your time, for watching me today. I hope this kind of opens your mind a little bit about what's ahead. And I hope you find, your passion and your purpose. And I'll share with you the resources. Take care. I'll see you in another video.